Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome to Amplify Your Brilliance Monday, my my weekly time to connect with you, to give you the tools to really activate your faith alongside your purpose to grow that purpose into multiple revenue streams. I'm beyond excited, as I am every Monday, to be here with you. So as you're coming in, tell me name and where you're joining from. Tell me name and where you are joining from. And listen, whether you're here live or you watch the replay, still tell me name and where you're joining from. All right. So we're continuing with the series I started a couple weeks ago. And that series, by the way, those of you that don't know, I'll look over here for comments because sometimes they don't come up on my screen. So if you see me looking over here, I'm looking for your comments, right? Say, hey, Renata, I see you, girl. So we're continuing with the series I started at the top of April, which this series is Don't Stay Stuck. So this whole year, our girl that's leading the theme of this is Esther. If you don't know about my favorite girl, Esther, in the Bible, then go back and watch some of the previous episodes from this conversation, Amplify Your Brains Monday. So there on the screen, you see the website to my YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch previous episodes. I started at the top of the year with the theme that got put in my spirit. And Esther is our muse for the year. And so I really want to encourage you to go back if you haven't watched that. Go to nrjnetwork.com to see past episodes. And again, that's on my YouTube channel. All right. So with that said, coming back over and saying hello. Hey, Yolanda in Ohio, and Lavon. Hey, girl, in Maryland. And I said, hey to Renata, my OG, my original girl, who's always here. I love it. I love it. So there's more than those three here. So don't be shy. Say hello and tell us where you're from. And let me tell you, the reason I do that is I want you to see who is up the street from you. You might find an accountability partner, a sister friend that could be with you in the journey. What I know for sure is entrepreneurship can be lonely. And when you have a purpose-focused business in your spirit, God will not stop nudging you and pushing you and prodding you until you go after it. How do I know? I've been there, done that. Some of y'all that have been here beyond this episode have heard me tell my story about that. So with that, let me start, because I'm always also committed to give you tools. And I do that because y'all are busy, right? Hey, from Bel Air in Maryland. Hey, Arkina. Hey, girl. So with that, grab a pen. So continuing again in our series, Don't Stay Stuck. We started at the beginning of April, and I'm going to continue through the end of May in this series, because here's what I know. When you have this thing rumbling inside of you, see, God never comes for who you already are. He comes for a version of you you have not yet become. And so there will be things that can prevent you from getting there. And so it's my goal, my life's calling, to give you tools so you don't stay stuck where you are instead of going after your breathtaking future. I want to give you tools so you don't stay in comfort when your conviction is calling, right? Hey, Tracy in San Diego, and Letitia in Pittsburgh. Hey, right? So today's conversation, the power in your press, the power to press, right? The power to press comes from this Bible verse. So it's Philippians 3:14, and I'm going to read it straight out of the Bible today. And that says, I press toward the goal for the prize of the upper call of God in Christ Jesus. I press toward the goal. So the first thing is, what's your goal? And I want to talk to you about the power in pressing for it. Now, last week, I started a conversation about Joseph when I talked about Beyond the Cross. Hey, Robin in Philly, right? I talked about Beyond the Cross, and I talked about Joseph's story. Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. We've heard that story so many times. I don't know about you guys, but I heard that story so many times when I was little. I could tell it without reading a Bible verse. But it is a Bible story. And so really the reason Joseph could press through all the things he went through, listen, God gave him a vision, a dream, inkling, this desire, this thing to do. And I'm saying it in different ways because God gives it to us all differently. And when he gives you that thing, he don't tell you all the stuff you got to go through before you get to it. And that really is the power to press. And so I talked to you, I started the conversation, but today I'm going to give you 5 tools you need to press. Okay. Because again, listen, the tools you've used on this level are not sufficient for your next. So when God is calling you to do something bigger and better, you have to press or you'll never get to it. Okay. So you ready? Because I'm going right into that. Hey, Kamika in Chicago, and Juva in Charlotte. Hey. Yes. Philippians 3:14. Right. So with that, and you guys see me looking down, looking at my notes. Here's my whole page of notes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay. So I'm spelling out press today. I got fancy today, right? So the first thing you've got to press through is perception, right? I'm spelling out press, right? So P, you can write PRESS and know that I'm gonna give you what each of those stand for, okay? So P is for letting go of perception, right? It's so funny. I was watching, how many of you guys watch Ariana Fix My Life? I always tape it and I watch it later. So I actually didn't see it Saturday. I watched it yesterday. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. It was so good. Helping Lisa Ray get beyond where she was. The thing I think is interesting, we all do this, is we blame other people for where we are instead of looking at ourselves. If everything is happening, like here's a great example. If I talk about myself, if I remember all the guys I dated before I met my husband. And I kept at first saying that they had this problem in them and them and them. And I had to stop and say, hold on, stop. Why do I keep dating the same man over and over? Can I get out of this movie, please? Can I get with a new script? Hello. But see, I had to realize there was one actress in every script, and that was me. So I had to learn and shift some things. The first thing I had to shift, and Ayana said OPP yesterday. I was like, well, I'm about to use that. But I put some other OPP. So yesterday she called it other people's perception. But I got some other OPPs for you, right? So first thing you got to move past with perception is what other people have to think or what other people have to say. Some of you haven't started your business because you're worried about what other people have to say. Some of you guys know, like you know, that God has this great purpose for your life, but you won't start it because you're worried about judgment of other people. Some of you guys are judging yourself. Oh, you think you should have been by now. And every moment you sit in should, you stay stuck. And you're not moving your purpose forward. And there are people that need you. The other OPP is other people's or other places phobias. Ooh, what I mean by that. So when you've gone through some things, sometimes you'll let fear keep you from that great thing because it looks like it. So again, I'm using myself for an example. So I told you all the men I dated for my husband all cheated on me. And I didn't tell you that part, but they did. But it didn't start with that. It started with them saying things like, I don't think I deserve you. And I don't know if I'm ready to be in a relationship. How many of y'all been through that? And I said, I'm gonna show them that I'm gonna be the best and that they should be in this relationship with me, right? I'm gonna show them instead of listening. Oh, nobody else has had relationship issues but me. So when my husband went through that, I don't know if I want to be in a relationship, baby, I could have done what I did in the past. I could have let fear, the glasses of my past, the pink rosy glasses of my past, mess up my blessing. What I'm clear is that the enemy was using that because he knew what the other men had said in the past that I had learned that what that did to me before, and I could have run. In that moment, I had depressed, and I told my husband, "Listen, let me explain to you. I'm a blessing. When you're ready, I'll be here. You better hope I'm available." And I let him go. And I had never done that before. It's powerful. It felt good. Now I ain't gonna lie to you, it was hard. I was in the car crying. We dated long distance. I was in that cab crying like a baby. Took a week for him to get his life. The reason I'm sharing that with you is not about me and my husband. What it is about I didn't let fear stop me. One of my favorite Bible verses is 2 Timothy 1:7, and I wrote this down. Those of you that are here with me every Monday, you know that I can get special. You know, I give you the Bible according to Nicole, so I might change a word, but I wanted to make sure I get my Bible verses right tonight. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind." So we will let perception lead us. We're not speaking from a sound mind place. When we let fear lead us, we're not speaking from a sound mind place. See, fear is an emotion. It's a negative emotion. And there are so many emotions rooted in fear. And guess what? Your faith doesn't get activated until you're in the face of fear. So when you feel something negative, whether it's envy, whether it's angry, whether it has a root in fear somewhere, I guarantee you. Oh, fear is sneaky. It comes up in so many ways. I could do a whole conversation on fear, but we ain't got that kind of time, right? So with that said, I want you guys to get this. Other places phobias could keep you stuck. So other people's perceptions, the first OPP, the second OPP is other places perception. The last one is our past pain. Come on, OPP. I want you guys to identify which one of these you are in. So things that have happened to you in your past could and will keep you stuck if you allow them to. Oh, it definitely will. So I need you, and the part of the homework I'm having you do tonight is to look at what could keep you stuck, because if you don't identify it, it just grows bigger and bigger. If you act like it's not there, oh, it's there. And then what happens is when something bumps up against it and you don't do the work. So listen, all the times I was dealing with men that were saying they weren't ready for a relationship. I didn't stop to do the work. Between that last relationship and my husband, I stopped. I got a counselor. I started reading about relationships in the Bible. I got all the way clear with myself. So when it came up from my husband, I chose me. The other times I was trying to prove, that was that perception. Proof is a word too. It's a P word too. I can say other people's proving to other people, I guess, whatever. But y'all know what I'm trying to say, right? So the first thing you've got to press through is OPP, other people's perception of the pain of your past, right? On past pain and other places, phobias. Those are the three things that you got to identify and do the work so you can press through it. It's like, listen, it's like having a baby. Now, I've never had a baby myself, so keep in mind what I'm getting ready to say may not be accurate all the way. But I've been in the labor room with my best friend. And I'm going to tell you, I told her husband that he could leave and I'll stay. And when she kicked up her leg about the third time and I saw parts of her I never wanted to see, and I felt that pain, I was like, you know what? I know I told you you could take a break, but I'm going to need you to come back. I ain't ready for this. Right? I want you guys to get this. Sometimes the pain is so great, we forget about the beauty that happens on the other side of the pain, which is the baby. And when you don't go through the pain, you do one of two things. You either have a dead baby in you. No, I said it. Or you're aborting the baby. Now, I'm not trying to get sensitive to anybody that's had to go through an abortion or had a miscarriage or any of those things, right? But I really want you to get that God impregnates you with purpose, especially we as women. I can't use that. I tried to use that example with my husband. He looks at me like, yeah, that's the only thing you give birth to, baby. But I really want you to understand this. If you don't press, you will have a dead baby inside of you. And when you die and go meet God, I don't want him to say, girl, go back. You ain't done. Girl, you didn't do what I asked you to do. What happened? Oh, he ain't going to say that to me. I'm going to play full out. How about you? So that's the first thing you got to press through. The second, the R, is let go of the rear view. So because that's a whole conversation by itself, I'm going to go through that next week. So make sure you come and join me for next week. I'm going to go through that, right? I talked about it a little bit when I talked about don't look back, but let me say this to you. I'm going to go even deeper in our conversation next week, okay? So I want to make sure you join me next week, okay? So that's PRE. Now, this is the one that you got to, if you don't do this, you will go nowhere. You've got to focus on the end. One of my favorite quotes is begin with the end in mind. But if you don't know what the end looks like, how do you begin with the end in mind? You know, it's kind of like GPS. You're talking that purpose talk. Yes. All right, Juva. Listen, if I was going somewhere, say you told me to meet you for lunch. Let's say you said, Nicole, meet me for lunch, right? But you didn't tell me where to meet you. You just said, girl, meet me for lunch. And you didn't tell me the address. You didn't tell me where we were going. How would I get there? Just meet me. But so many of you guys have not taken the time to write out your vision. This is why Habakkuk 2:2 is so important. Write the vision and make it plain. Now, then it says that, right, listen, I'm going to read the whole Bible verse because we know the write the vision, make it plain. But let me read the whole thing. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets that he may run who reads it. My interpretation, think about what running means. Running means running toward it. Again, how do I run towards something if I don't know where it is? If I don't know what it is? So when you begin to write out your goals, it's kind of like you're setting out and you're using God's GPS. See, it's God's planning system. So you've got to start with writing it out. I need y'all to understand this. If you don't write it out, how do you know where you're going? And then you've got to place your order. Now, this is why I call it place your order. So you write your vision. So those of you that have never written a vision, I forget what week it is. I need to look, but back. So, I give you journal work every week. I need to look at what week it was, but I gave you a vision board exercise. For those of you that have never done one, vision boards are powerful. And so the reason I love my vision board is literally right there. The reason I love vision boards is it keeps you focused on where you're going. You know where you're going, and then you stop doing stuff that's not in alignment with where you're going. Listen, our lives are dictated by the choices we make. Are you making choices that are in alignment with who you know yourself to be and where you know you're going? Are you making choices against it? Are you staying stuck because you're afraid of it? Oh, it's going to be scary because you've never done it before. But that's, I believe that God puts us in scary places so that we can rely on him. Do you believe in writing an elimination list as well? What do you mean by elimination list, right? Do you mean eliminating things that are not in line with your purpose? And yeah, right? But here's the thing. I don't want you to focus on negative. when you write out all the things that you are and all the things you're working toward, when there are things that are not in alignment with that, you don't do it. I want you to focus on positive. When you put negative, even when you have negative ill will toward people, it takes so much energy to be negative. But it feels good to be positive and focus on positive and working toward positive, right? So I hope I answered your question, Kamika. Good question, right? So with that, place your order. So some of you guys have been in my community. You've heard me say this before because this is one of my favorite ways to explain it. So when I'm on a cheat day, because I try to eat like a good girl, and I hope my trainer's not looking at this, when I'm on a cheat day, and I drive my butt up to McDonald's because I still love me some filet-o-fish, right? So I'm a vegan for the most part. Well, I'm vegan and I'm a pescatarian because I eat fish, right? Every now and then I eat some chicken on a holiday or when I'm at a relative's house because I don't want to get on their nerves that I don't eat meat anymore. But for the most part, I'm a pescatarian. So when I'm on a cheat day and I go to McDonald's and I go order my filet of fish, I go to that first order and first window and I go, "Hi, can I have a filet of fish?" Right? Now, I don't order French fries. I don't order a soda. I order a bottle of water. But here's the thing. I never think to myself, I wonder, do they have bread today? Because I love the bread too. I wonder, do they have that special sauce? I never think that. I place my order and then I go and get it. So it's the same thing you got to do. Place your order. When you write your vision, you're placing your order. You're telling God, I believe in everything you're putting inside of me. I am writing it out and I'm going to start to run and make it happen. So when you start trying to figure out how, listen, when God gave me the vision of what I'm doing now in 1993, when I worked in a whole different industry, when there was no such thing as a coach, and I know what the heck this thing was, and some of my friends thought I was crazy. Shoot, I thought I was crazy because I didn't know what this was. But all I could do was trust God. Some of the things even shows me now that I'm doing, even some of the clients that call me when celebrity brands call me, and I'm just like, but I cannot focus on my fear. I focus on the purpose God put inside of me, and I'm true to it. And so that's the same thing you got to do. You got to be focused on the end. It's not focusing on all the things that you aren't and focusing on all the things you can't do. Once you focus on getting to the end and just keep moving toward it and moving toward it and moving toward it and moving toward it, which moves us to the S. So P is let go perception. R is rear view, let go of rear view. We'll talk about that next week. E is begin with the end in mind. The first S, how you begin with the end in mind is you've got to have strategy. You can't do whatever, whenever, however, right? One of my favorite quotes is the tools you've used on this level are not sufficient for your next. So the strategy you use to get here is not going to work. Listen, I had a lucrative career in the entertainment industry when God called me to do this. I didn't know how to do this. Despite the fact that I had worked in producing some of the TV shows you love, worked in casting, I did all kind of phenomenal things. All that stuff I knew does not work over here. Now, there's some great tools that I've learned and some ways that have expanded the way I do things, but I needed new tools. So those of you that know, like, you need tools, I want to invite you. I have a free masterclass that I developed because I get this question a lot. How do I understand what my purpose is? And how do I create a business around it? Many of you that have started a business didn't have strategy. Listen, if you watch The Queen's Gambit, all these movies you watched during COVID, the reason that girl kept doing well and winning all those chess matches is because she had strategy. So you see my free masterclass is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. It's alignyourpurposewithprofit.com. All you got to do is sign up and it's about 45 minutes. And I walk you through the 3 areas you must do to understand the one thing God has created you to do and how to create revenue from it. Again, it's alignyourpurposewithprofit.com. I'll leave it rolling on the screen. But it really does help you get clarity and strategy, the 2 things you must do. But first, you got to let go of perception. You got to let go of your review. You got to begin with the end in mind. So what is it that you're working toward? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And then get strategy to be able to go and do it. And so the last S, y'all writing this down? Am I going too fast? I appreciate you, Renata. When I said this is good tonight, I appreciate you, girl. So listen, if you guys have questions as I share, please post, right? Because I'm happy to answer your questions. So P, let go of perception. R, let go of the review. Again, I'll discuss R next week. E, begin with the end in mind. But do you know what the end is? Right? You got to focus on the end and get clear on what the end is and get clear on where you're headed. S is strategy. You can't go nowhere without strategy. Well, you can, but 9 times out of 10, when you don't have strategy, you will fail. You'll be out there for years. And I've met so many women, and this was me too. Many of you guys have heard my story. I've been doing this for 28 years. Oh, how old am I? This year, September, will be 28 years that I've been doing this thing. It took me 17 years to understand how to create a profitable, successful business because I didn't have strategy. Sure, I was brilliant. At the time, I had a master's degree. At the time, I was teaching at a graduate level, not in one prestigious college, but I taught it too. I taught at USC and Boston University, and still my business was failing. And I tell you that whole story in my masterclass, Align Your Purpose with Profit.com. And the reason it was failing is because I didn't have strategy. Mm-hmm. Yes, love chess. I have to be strategic and mental. Learn it when I was 13. Right. Right. Come on, Robin girl. I got you by a year. Actually, I got you by 2 because I'll be 52 this year. Anyway, so with that said, the last S of press is shine. Listen, ultimately, God's greatest goal for you is that you shine. One of my favorite Bible verses, Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine among men, and I always add, and women, that they may see your good work and glorify your Father in heaven. See, when you're shining, when you're standing in the full power of your gift, then you are so bright. And dare I say, I want you to be so bright that you need to hand somebody a pair of shades. Mm-hmm. That's how bright I want you. That's how bright I hope that I am. I'm always trying to up the ante of my brightness. I'm trying to get my brilliance factor up, which is why I call my Facebook group the Women of Brilliance Tribe, because we are women focused on being as bright as we possibly can. We want to up the ante on that so that we can be all that God has called us to be. We can serve all the people we were created to serve. We can fully flourish in our gift, and God's gift back to us is that we live abundantly. Hello, somebody. So that's our conversation for today, is the 5 tools you need to press. I will walk you through tool number 2 next week, so don't miss it. But again, my goal for you is your next level. I'm not coming ever for who you already are. My goal is to go after who you have not yet become. And God's greatest gift is that we can live abundantly above all we could ask or think. If it's bigger than we could ask or think, can you imagine that? I know I can't, but I know one other thing. I am going after all that's available for me. So with that said, let me stop and see if anybody has any questions. Again, grab that masterclass, Align Your Purpose with Profit.com. I'll walk you through the 3 areas you need to get clear on compromising, let go of perception, all the things you need so you can go after being the highest and best version of who God created you to be. So with that, waiting to see if anybody has any questions to ask. Well, one other thing I forgot to tell you is every week I give you journal work. So your journal will drop in our Facebook group, and there's a Facebook group at the bottom of the screen. Join the Facebook group by going to thebrilliancetribe.com, because we are women of brilliance, supporting women of brilliance. So today is 3 pages, right? So what I do is give you a weekly journal so you can sit on this conversation for the week, because what good is it to listen to me if you don't activate what you're learning? You know, one of my favorite things my husband said to me once is I'm sure he got this quote from someplace gosh, it just went out of my head. I'm having a senior moment. Ooh, I'm having a senior moment. It just went out of my head. I'm going to say it this way. This is not the right way. Dreams without activation are hallucination. No, that's not right. Dreams without implementation is hallucination. That's so wrong. I can't remember. I'm having a senior moment right in the middle of this live. Tape it. So just know this. It doesn't matter if you're excited about it and motivated or inspired. I could care less if you don't implement a thing, because then you will be where you are. You will be stuck. What's the point in spending this time with me on Monday if you don't implement a thing? You're not here for me to entertain you. You're here for me to activate you. So what is it that you need to move that purpose forward? What is it that you need to make God proud of you? Listen, God invested gifts and talents inside of you at birth. So what's God's return on his investment in you? Do the work. Let him have a fruitful investment. And when he does, again, his gift back to you is that you be fruitful and multiply. So with that said, I don't see any questions coming in. Renata, I love you, girl. So Renata says, let me put it up here. Nicole will stretch you. You will have no choice but to get out of your own way. Listen, you know why? Because I was in my own way for years. And I know what it's like to live on another level. I know what it's like to let your light shine. I know what it's like to no longer care about other people have to think or have to say. but that you care about what God has to say. And my goal for you is every lesson that I learned. Listen, I'm not somebody that talks the talk. I'm somebody that walks the walk. I'm not just some words you read on some paper in some book. I'm a living, breathing example of what it looks like when you say yes to your abundantly above all, right? And I'm still saying yes to mine. So with that said, y'all, that's our conversation for tonight. Again, grab your worksheet in thebrilliancetribe.com. Thank you for joining me. Listen, if I shared anything that gave you any value, do me two favors. One, share the greatest value you got out of tonight's conversation below. And then number two, click the button, Facebook button somewhere that says share, and share it with your tribe, right? The second thing I want to ask, and if you're not in Facebook, do it in YouTube. You can do the same thing. You have to do it here. Those of you that are watching this live in one of my Facebook groups, you have to come on over to amplifyyourbrilliancemonday.com and share it from our public page so that other people can also partake in this. Because here's the other thing. Can you imagine what this world would be like if all of us stood unapologetic in our purpose? If all of us, everybody you knew, everybody I know, lived as the highest and best version of who God created them to be, imagine what this world would be like. So when you share, you're helping me to do that, to pour into other women. So with that said, y'all, I will see you next Monday for another episode of Amplify Your Brilliance. Again, my name is Nicole Roberts Jones. It's always my honor and privilege to see you. Have a phenomenal rest of your evening. Bye, y'all.